Hello, this is your instructor. In this video for week 2, I'm going to go through two things. One is the chapter 6 and 8 highlights that's going to be important to you for some of your assignments that you're going to do. And also wanted to take a look at your outline for your narrative speech and how to complete it, how to submit it, turn it in. The other video that I made shows you all about how to make your video, your narrative speech video, and how to upload it to the Canvas website using VidGrid portal or using a YouTube link, one of the two. So I'm going to share my screen at this point. We're going to take a look at highlights of chapter 6 and 8. And you should be seeing now on the screen, this is a video that, or a little PowerPoint that I put together. And this is something that we'll be talking in more detail about PowerPoint when we get to the third speech for the class. But for now, I just want to take a look at how do you develop, how do you create, and how do you develop a speech, especially this narrative speech. So the first thing you do when you're developing, creating a speech is you have to select your topic. And selecting the topic can be done in several different ways. One of the ways that you can select a topic is by using a list of topics. You could go to Google and simply look at a whole list of something when you type in one word and it gives you a whole list of possibilities. Or you can go to certain websites and type in your speech topic that you want, a demonstration speech topic, and it'll give you a whole list of, say, 50 ideas for lists. So that's one way to come up with lists. Another way is just by talking things out with another person or just by yourself, brainstorming, write down all the things that you know, the things that you are interested in, that you think the audience might be interested in. And that's called brainstorming. I have an example here. Things you would find on a farm. Can you just list different things like tractors or animals or crops? Or here's another one, reasons to go to college, and just make a list of those kind of things. And you might want to use one of those things as then your topic for your speech. Another way to do this is by the use of what's called clustering. And you might not have seen this before, but this is a way to take one idea and to add other ideas to it until you eventually come up with an idea that you can use for a speech. Here's an example. What if we use the general category of music as a possible topic? I kind of like music, so I pick that. So what is connected to music that I could next think about? And that's what I have here. So you can see all the things around music that are similar to it. And then what if I kept going and I bounced ideas off of those ideas? You can see now I'm branching out into other things here. So from reggae, I've gotten into Bob Marley, Jamaica, and that's still kind of connected to music, but we're getting a little bit further away from music, especially when we get down here on salvaging the Titanic, treasure hunting. That's not really that close to music, but that's okay. We're just trying to come up with a good topic for our speech that we're going to be giving. So then maybe we continue on, and treasure hunting leads us to think about Key West, Florida, where a lot of treasure hunting happened. And then from there, maybe we think about who lived there. And Ernest Hemingway is the most famous resident of Key West, Florida. So maybe you can give a speech on Ernest Hemingway, which again is far from music, but this idea is called clustering, to cluster ideas together. The next thing you want to do after you select your topic is to narrow the topic. You do this for a couple of reasons. One is because of the time limit that you have. You can't speak about everything about Ernest Hemingway in a, say, 3 to 5 minute speech. The longest speech you'll have in this class is 6 to 8 minutes. There's no way in 6 to 8 minutes that you'd be able to talk about everything either. So time limit is one thing that you want to talk, that you want to narrow your topic. Also, you want to help yourself and don't pick a topic that's going to demand so much work and so much research that it's going to be, just too big of a topic. So narrow that down. To help you narrow it down, you decide on the general purpose. And in general purpose, there's three kinds of general purpose. One is to inform. 90% of the time, that's what your speech is going to be about, your presentation. Another one is to persuade. and a third one is to entertain. Now, the question always comes up, how do I tell the difference between an informative speech and a persuasive speech? Well, here's the question you need to ask yourself. And if you answer yes or no to this question, it will determine what kind of speech you're giving. Am I trying to change or reinforce the audience's attitudes, beliefs, values, or behaviors? If the answer is yes, I am trying to do that, then you are giving a persuasive speech. If the answer is no, I'm not trying to change or reinforce anything, I'm just giving information, then you're giving an informative speech. The third thing that you need to think about is your specific purpose, and that is we generally know we're going to give information about Ernest Hemingway, but specifically, what things are you going to talk about in this speech? And you can do this in one sentence. You can include different things in that one sentence, but all the sentences should begin the same. After hearing my speech, I want the audience to, and then you fill out the rest. After hearing my speech, I want the audience to know about Ernest Hemingway's life as a novelist, or Ernest Hemingway's life as a fisherman, or I want to know the three things about Ernest Hemingway. And there I'm just saying there's going to be three things I'm going to talk about. That's the specific purpose. The next term to know is the central idea. Central idea is defined as one sentence that you're going to actually use in your speech toward the end of the introduction, or sometimes in the middle of the introduction, but usually at the end of the introduction. That's going to do two possible things. One thing it's going to do is it's going to announce what your topic is. So the central idea would say something like, Ernest Hemingway was most famously known as a novelist, but he also is known for other things as well, such as being a great fisherman off the coast of Florida. That's a central idea that simply announces, I'm going to be giving this speech about Ernest Hemingway, who was a great fisherman. Now, your central idea could do a second thing, and that is, it could also announce your main points. When I said that a possibility for a specific purpose is to say, here's the three things I'm going to talk about with Ernest Hemingway, that's previewing your main points, at least how many main points there are. So in today's speech, I'm going to tell you three important things about Ernest Hemingway. And that's an announcement of the topic as well as previewing the main points. The next thing you do is you organize the presentation, and here we're mainly talking about what do you do at the beginning of the speech, the middle, the end of the speech, and then how do you put together your main points of the speech. Now, in this part, we need to know that we have three main parts to any speech: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. So let's take a look briefly now at what each of these three parts should contain. We'll start with the introduction, and we can see that the first part of the introduction is the attention getter. It's not the central idea, it's not the announcing of your topic, but it's simply getting the curiosity of the audience up, relating something to them that you have in common with them. Doing just like the name of it is getting their attention. That's really all you're doing at the very beginning of the speech. You can do that by verbal things or nonverbal things. You look at the audience and smile at them. That's getting their attention. You can also do things such as maybe ask questions, rhetorical questions that you're going to answer in your speech. Or you could tell a story. You could start with a quote about something. There's all sorts of things you can do for an attention getter. The second thing then that you could do is then announce your topic. And here's where you might want to say, and so today we're looking at Ernest Hemingway, a great fisherman off the coast of Florida. Next, you give your credentials, and this is where you tell us, why are you talking about Ernest Hemingway? Why did you pick him? And you'll want to tell us a little bit about your personal experience with Ernest Hemingway. Not you never met him because he's been long deceased, but you could say, I heard about him, or I read a book about him, or I read a book by him, and so on, that got you interested in Ernest Hemingway. Or you could also tell us that you have done research on this topic. You've looked things up about Ernest Hemingway. Then the last thing you might want to do is preview your main points. If you don't want to preview your main points, you don't have to. You could instead go directly into the transition of your first main point. Now we're into the body of the speech. And in the body of the speech, there's some things that you need to think about. One is deciding on your organizational order. Here's your choices that you have. You could do things chronologically. Or in the case of Ernest Hemingway, you could talk about his early life as a fisherman, then his later life, and then at the end of his life. So that's done chronologically. You could do things topically, which is the usual or routine way of doing things. You could do things spatially. That's describing or talking about something from a certain perspective. You could use cause and effect. You could use problem solution. You typically use these last two in persuasive speeches. And I would suggest you read over your chapters to look more at what chronological, topical, spatial would be. Then make sure that you use transitions to move the audience from one main point to the next main point. And then we're ready to look at the conclusion. And in the conclusion, you need to first signal the conclusion. In other words, tell us that you're ending the speech. You could do it verbally or you could do it non-verbally. Verbally, you would say things such as, in conclusion, to sum up, things like that. Or you could do it non-verbally by having a long pause, moving from one position to another position. Those are ways to signal the conclusion. Then you need to restate your main points or the central idea. Today we've talked about Ernest Hemingway as a fisherman, or today I talked about 3 different things about Ernest Hemingway as a fisherman. And lastly, you end your speech with a memorable thought or a call to action. The call to action is primarily done for persuasive speeches, and so you want to end with maybe a quote, end with what you have learned about things. For example, in your narrative speech, what did you learn about the experience that you just had? Then I want to talk about how do you put all of this together for you as a speaker. That's called the keyword outline. And here for the keyword outline, it's important that you write things on a note card. And here's an example, of what a note card would look like right here. This is 4x6. I do not want you to use a full sheet of paper. This is the size of a full sheet of paper. You notice the size difference. I can tell right away when you're recording your speech and I see this, then I know you've typed everything out on a piece of paper. You don't want to do that. You want to use a card, a note card, because this will allow you to have more eye contact with the audience unless you're reading off of your note card. And you can see that if I have this here, I'm not blocking my face at all. But if I hold this up in front of me, you see how it's blocking my face? We don't want to do that. And we don't want to have something off on another screen that you're looking at, but we want it on a note card or note cards. Now, for this first speech, it's all about you and an experience you have. So you shouldn't have to write very much down on this card. That's why it's called a key word outline. It's no complete sentences, just a listing of key words that will help remind you of what you're going to say next. So that's very important that you shrink down your thoughts. I recommend you start perhaps with a manuscript. If you must type it all out, that's fine. But then reduce that down to fewer and fewer and fewer words until eventually you can get all of your thoughts on one side of one note card. And then you need to practice that so you can look out at the audience. So this is how you kind of some highlights from chapters 6 and chapter 8. I'm going to stop the sharing at this point. Because now what we're going to do is I'm going to set this up so that we can take a look at the outline itself and how you complete this outline, fill it out, how you upload it. That's due by the end of this week 2. So I'm going to pause the recording for now and I'll be back with you in just a second. Okay, well, I'm back with you again. We're now ready to take a look at how do we complete the outline for this narrative speech? How do we upload it as part of the assignment? Now, this outline is very important that you submit it at the time of you do your video for your speech. In fact, I'd like you to submit it just before you do your video for your speech. It's worth 10 points out of the 100 points for the speech itself. So if you do not submit an outline, or if you submit it late, you're going to have some points taken off of your speech. So just be ready for that. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you now, and I want to take a look at our Canvas website. Here you should see a Canvas website that's up on the screen. And we're going to scroll down to Module 2, and we want to take a look at this narrative speech outline template. That's where you start for this outline. So I select this outline template, and I would suggest that you go ahead and download this link right here. Go to this hyperlink and open up this document, because then you can save your outline on your computer. It's exactly what you see down below here. I'm going to go down below here and I'm going to show you exactly what to type in for each one of these things. But you go through and you delete, you edit, you change this outline to fit your speech, to fit you. There's not a particular way that it has to be done, but I want it to look generally like what you see here. So you start here by typing in your name. You see right here it says your name or at the top. So next to that, type in your name. I've already typed in the general purpose for you. It's to inform. And here you just complete the sentence. After hearing my speech, the audience will what? They will know more about something, about an experience that you had. They'll know how your experience about having a flat tire on your bicycle, how you had to fix it, or your experience about how a sport changed your life or something like that. Then I want you to tell me, what are you going to do for attention getter? How will you begin your speech? That's what you type in next to this. Here, identify the topic of your speech. Not in a complete sentence, just what's your speech about? And this is the central idea. This is the sentence that should be a complete sentence that you're going to use at the beginning of your speech that tells us what you're talking about. And then this is an outline form that tells me briefly what you're going to do at the beginning, middle, and end of your speech. So main point 1, I'm using Roman numeral 1, and I'm using capital letters for subpoints, and then just regular numbers for supporting statements. But if you want to use an outline a little different way, that's perfectly fine, as long as you use some kind of indentation and you use a brief form. Don't write complete sentences. I don't want to see paragraphs written out here. And then in between your main points, you need to make a transition that connects the main points together. For example, if you're telling me a story about yourself, this first main point is the beginning of the story. And then your transition is, how do you get from the beginning of the story to the second part of the story, the climactic part of the story? And then you have a transition after the second main point. And then after the second main point, you go into the conclusion. Here, you don't need to write anything down for signposts. Just remember that you need to signal the conclusion. Maybe you can type in here what you will say, like in conclusion, to sum up. And then restate your main points. Tell me what you talked about. Today, I talked about these 3 things or these 2 things. Today, I talked about my experience at fixing a flat tire. And then you go here to the closing statement and your memorable ending. How are you going to end the speech? So you basically type all that up, you save that on your computer, and then you're going to upload it to submit it. And I'll show you that next on how you upload it and submit it. So I'm going to go back here to modules, and we're going to go back to module 2. And for module 2, here's where you submit the outline. Down under supplemental material was here where you did the checklist. Up here is where you actually submit the outline. And so you go to narrative speech outline. When you're ready, you click start assignment, and you can do one of 2 things. You can upload your file from your computer, have this searcher file, then submit it, or you can go to text entry and you do a cut and paste, and you paste your outline right into here and then submit it. But once you've done that, you've submitted your outline to me. I can take a look at it and I check that off and I say, you've got it done. And therefore I will not deduct 10 points from your speech grade. Or if you don't have it done completely, or you didn't do it at all, then unfortunately I would need to deduct some points off of that. Not more than 10 points, but could be up to 10. All right, I'm going to stop the sharing for now. Hope this was helpful to you to get some more information. And please watch my other video for this week that talks about the other assignments to get turned in, as well as how you film, how you upload, and use the VidGrid portal. That's going to be very important. So until next time, this is your instructor, Russ, signing off. Goodbye.